Hey everybody, welcome back. If you're new here, hi, I'm Mercury. So I got my stripes on. It means I'm ready. Because say it once, say it twice, say it 3 times. It's Beetlejuice Day. I'm gonna go see Beetlejuice. I'll let you know what I think. But first, gotta get into the theater. Look, they have a sandworm and it says it's showtime. Everybody's excited for Beetlejuice. So I am back and I saw Beetlejuice. No, don't tempt me, y'all. Don't tempt me. So I had so much fun. I really did enjoy this movie. It's so great having Tim Burton directing in like his Burton style. It's the only way I could put it, because it's like when he does something, like you know it's Tim Burton and you know his style, and you get immersed in that world that he creates, and he is a master at it. He is so good at what he does. And like, I grew up watching Tim Burton movies. I have such a soft spot and such an appreciation and such a just any sort of like fond thought, it would apply towards Tim Burton, because he made it okay for people like me who are a little bit different, a little bit on the outskirts, not part of like the mainstream crowd, and made it okay for us to be who we are. Help just like let us know we're not alone. You know, there's other people like us in the world, and you know, it's like my people. It's like my people. Hello, I'm so glad to be with you. And even if I'm not physically around other people, it's like there's a community of people that gravitate towards his work for this reason, and it's fantastic to be a part of that. So this specific movie, I will do this and try to minimize spoilers, because right now there's like, I just got back from vacation, so there's a number of cruise videos that are like scheduled to go up. So by the time this goes up, Beetlejuice will have been out for a little bit. So there's a very low chance of spoilers being an issue at this point. But I also don't want to ruin anything for anyone who hasn't seen it yet. So I may give a little bit, more than I might normally, but I'm not going to give it away, because I want you to be able to go into this and really enjoy it. So what did I think? How do I put this? It was very entertaining, very enjoyable. But if I have one thing that I would have wanted to improve or change, this movie could have been 3 or 4 movies. It had multiple plot lines, and I don't necessarily know that any of them were fleshed out to their fullest, right? So there was a plot line between like Lydia and her daughter, right? So Wynona Ryder's character and Jenna Ortega. And, Jenna Ortega's character sort of like coming of age and having a mom who sees ghosts, right? So there's like one distinct plot line along that. There is another plot line around Beetlejuice. And we get to learn a little bit of his history, his living history, if you will. So there is a bit of a plot line around that. There's a plot line around family and, what happened to like Lydia's dad and, her daughter, and like, she's the way that it was in the first movie, where she could not stand like Delia Deetz, like Catherine O'Hara's character. They have come to terms with each other. And although she's probably not her favorite person, they get along. They get along, and they have worked through some of their problems. They definitely, they've been at it. And I think they've sort of landed in a place where they are okay with each other. So there's sort of like that family plot line going on. And all of these plot lines work. All of them work. But I want more. All of them could have had more. All three of those had enough going for them that they could have easily supported their own movies. Each individual plotline. I want my complaint is I wanted more. So I mean, of all things to complain about, right? That speaks volumes, because it was great. The set design. Oh my gosh. So it was like going back to original, like, set design from the original movie. I'm like, I've said his name a few times. I don't want to say it again. I'm so nervous. I'm gonna be like a ghost in here. So go back to the original movie. The sort of like skewed architecture, the stripes, that style. It's all there, but it's done in a way where it's like almost matured. It's like it's the same and the vibe is the same, but I don't want to call it like cleaner lines in art, but there's an organization to it where the original felt more chaotic, right? Like Delia's artwork, like with the little sculpture with the little things, the little arms, right? There was something a little bit chaotic about the way that felt. The stuff that in the sets now, it's whimsy and strange, but it didn't have that like chaos element. It had like a more controlled vibe to it, if you will, slightly. But the characters matured. The characters grew up. The characters have come of age. All of them. All of them. Including you know who. So it makes sense that the set design reflects that. It reflects that change and that evolution. And it's pretty cool that they were able to capture that in that way. I also want to give a shout out to a like supporting character. Bob. I love Bob. He is a great character. I loved his character. He made me chuckle. I thought it was so well done. Oh my gosh. Bob, you were fantastic. I loved it. Yeah. So if you've seen it already, right? Tell me what you think of Bob. What was your reaction to Bob? Because he warmed my soul. I enjoyed having Bob in the movie. One of the things that I noticed right away was sort of like this homage to the original. It kept nodding back to the original. Like the opening sequence, much like in the original, where it was like these pans over the town, but then it was the model. This one, it kept going sort of like back and forth between like live action and actual footage of like houses and like cars driving to the model. And like it was very obvious when it was a model and when it was not, because like the cars were moving or whatever. But it was also a little bit jarring that they did that, because it was like, oh, you think it's just the model, and then the next shot's not the model. But then it's the model again. And it was like going back and forth between them, but in a subtle way. It was very smooth. And if you weren't kind of like looking for it, you may have missed that it was going back and forth between the two. But I was just like, oh, this is interesting. There were multiple points of reference to the original and sort of to the Maitlands. And, those characters are not in this version, but they showed the Winter River Bridge, that covered bridge. They showed the hardware shop. So it was like, there's a scene where like Jenna Ortega's character gets like very upset, and she gets on a bike and starts, biking away, and she's biking through the town. And as she's biking through the town, you're seeing all these places, like the school that Lydia went to. And, when she was in her like school uniform and at the end of the movie, and she floats and she's doing the little dance and she's floating. So she passes the school that she went to. So there's like all these like nods. These, remember that? Remember that moment? Remember? Yeah, it's still here. And it's the foundation. The foundation of what we're doing here. So, yeah. And then, makeup. Makeup. Awesome. Spot on. I don't really have any good, bad, or otherwise. It was just like, makeup was everything I wanted it to be. But what I will say, there wasn't a use of practical effects, meaning not CGI for everything. They were using puppets and prosthetics and doing it the old school way. And I have such a deep appreciation of that. Recently, Alien Romulus did the same thing. They went back to using practical effects. And I love it. I love practical effects because whenever it's CG, I notice it. And it pulls me out of that magical movie sort of like moment. And I'm like, oh, that didn't quite fit. But practical effects, they're physically there. The actors are reacting to something that's physically there. It makes a difference. It really makes a difference. And this movie was using them. So that was awesome. So, like I said, I enjoyed it so much. I really did. So I guess that is my review of Beetlejuice. 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 But seriously, with that, I am done for the day. I'll see you all real soon. And until then, stay inspired by everyone. Take care.